Hiya, I'm a 9th grade PBL student and I'm here to tell you why it's important to reduce gentrification in British Bangladeshi communities in the UK. I myself am British Bangladeshi, so this topic hits particularly close to home, literally because it's like a country that I'm from, so it's like my home. Yeah, you understand. So I hope you'll be kind while watching and discussing this video. There are definitely people that are more qualified to discuss this topic than me, but this is my perspective, so I'm here to offer what I can. Anyways, without further dilly-dallying, let's get into it. Sylhet is a division and city in the northeast of Bangladesh. The city is considered to be the most important city in the Shuma River Valley, and it's known for producing a ton of tea. But more importantly, Sylhet produces a ton of immigrants. One thing about Sylhetis is that they love to leave Sylhet. In the 2001 census showed that 2.1% of London's population was made up of Bangladeshi migrants, and an overwhelming majority of these migrants were Sylheti in origin. These Sylhetis, they go from Sylhet and they settle in the UK. And where do they settle? In London. That's so basic, like gosh. 55% of Bangladeshis in the UK live in London, so it is a lot. In the olden days, they would show up to London and get jobs in the garments factories because immigrants are famously cheap labor. And soon enough, some of them decided to quit the garments industry and set up restaurants. And you probably know what happened then. Like, there are a ton of Indian restaurants everywhere in England right now. Like, it's actually insane. A lot of them moved into Tower Hamlets, which is a set of council flats provided by the government for people with low income. And they opened up businesses in East London, particularly Brick Lane. Brick Lane is like very famous in the Bangladeshi community as being sort of like a hub for Bangladeshis. In the mid-2000s, 60 South Asian owned restaurants there were 60 South Asian owned restaurants in and around Brick Lane. But in February of 2020, only 23 of these remained. Something was happening to these businesses. A cruel, vicious beast was attacking our London, a beast known to many as gentrification. And this is where our predicament starts. So a lot of you may be thinking, what is gentrification? Why are we speaking about it today? Well, I'm here to tell you that the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines gentrification as... What does that say? That's very interesting. I'm gonna need my glasses.
Dictionary definitions are for Philistines and anti-intellectualists. The true purpose of the video essay is to gain a deeper understanding of the concept discussed and not to read off a paper and be satisfied with that.
That's very interesting, isn't it? Basically...
Gentrification is when rich people do stuff.
No. Gentrification is basically when a poor area in a city is changed by rich people or businesses that are moving in or buying property. And this whole thing typically displaces the originally lower income inhabitants of the area. And at first glance, it seemed pretty clear to me that that was what was going on in the East London situation that I'm here to discuss today. Right, and I was like, okay, open and shut case, there's really nothing to discuss. I was like, okay, I guess I'm done with this PBL project. But then I was like, oh no, Mr. Francis McGinn is gonna be so upset. Like, he's gonna be like, how? This isn't in-depth enough. And it's gonna be very scary for me if I try and turn this in right now. So, let's take a deeper look.
Kevin Brady and Gahar Chowdhury gave developers the green light to redevelop and extend the old Truman Brewery site on Brick Lane, turning it into a mixed-use complex, including office spaces, a mall, a restaurant, and a gym. Locally, there are concerns that the plan will privilege large corporate businesses over independent curry houses that employ predominantly Bangladeshi migrants.
Let's unpack that. What is the Old Truman Brewery? Well, despite its name, the Old Truman Brewery does not actually brew things. According to The Guardian, they stopped making beer there about 25 years ago, and ever since then they've been a site for about 300 small businesses to operate out of. The brewery is currently owned by the Zaloof Partnership, which is a really dumb name, and they used to charge low rents because the site was kind of basic. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, wow, it's a small business and they're charging low rent. That is so cool and PogChamps. Well, no, it's not. It's not PogChamps or Poggers at all, actually. Most people in the Brick Lane area tend to have mixed feelings about the brewery. Brewery is a weird word to say. One curry house owner stated that
People from the city no longer come to Brick Lane for lunch. And the food court in the old Truman Brewery killed off our lunchtime trade on Saturdays and Sundays. Before it opened, our only competition were the bagel shops at the end of the road.
But another said that one of the businesses in the brewery, the Vibe Bar, which unfortunately closed down in 2014, used to bring in a rush of customers into their restaurants every night. And despite any history or relations that the brewery might have with the surrounding community, the Zaloof Partnership has decided to bulldoze part of it and extend and redevelop the rest. And you know, personally, I would be okay with that if I believed that Zaloof would still want small businesses to be there. But they've only committed to discounting 10% of their business units, and they've reserved only 3 retail spaces for independents. So it's not looking good. It's actually not looking good at all. Like, big corporations are the downfall of society. Yeah. If you're the academic type, or you've been paying close attention to me for the past however many minutes for some reason, you probably realized that I didn't technically answer the question that I wanted to answer. And that is because, like, you said, why is that? That is because in order to answer a question, you need to answer a question. And I don't really have an answer. So, sorry, I failed. Mr. Megan is going to be screaming and crying. He's going to give me a failing grade and I'm going to fail this class. I'm sorry. So maybe after all this research and toil, I still don't have an answer. But maybe that's because it's an impossible question to answer. And it's really stupid, actually, because there is no why that justifies, like, erasing decades of memories and history in the name of profit. You know, I think that as people, that is something that we should not let happen. There's no way I can justify not doing that, because that is something. And I know Mr. Megan's PBL class is for, like, intellectual alphas, and this is kind of a cop-out answer. But as a person, like a human person, after reading and providing all this background information, I don't think it's possible for me to talk about this through an objective lens. And yeah, that is my fault for choosing something that I can't talk about with an objective lens. But oh my god. And maybe that is my fault for choosing a topic that I couldn't talk about objectively. But I asked Mr. Megan if I could switch, and he said
no.
So it's too late now. But, like, why is that a question that I'm posing? Is it indicative of the downfall of civilization that, like, driving a community out of a place they've been for decades is something that is a hot topic for debate? You know? Like, what is the importance of reducing gentrification in British Bangladeshi communities? Draw your own conclusions from the information I've provided. I have a really sick advanced MLA, an annotated bibliography with 2 paragraphs each that you can look through if you want. And it's kind of anti-intellectual of me to say that this is something that I don't personally want to debate. But I don't think that every idea has to be held up to immense scrutiny by every person all the time. So, in conclusion, why is it important to reduce gentrification in British Bangladeshi communities in the UK? Well, it just is.
I'm a tripod.
Tripods aren't birds.